Okay, so let's face it. Dog ownership can be very, very expensive. I read online that sometimes people can spend up to $50,000 during the lifetime of their dog. And recently I have been, on Nextdoor. And so I live in Fort Worth, and I've been noticing a lot of posts about people having to rehome their dogs for different reasons, including really just like the affordability of dog ownership. And so for me, I've had my dog for almost 9 years. It has been a very expensive journey because of the fact that she has allergies. If you have a dog with allergies, you know how expensive that can be. And so I have basically like learned some tips and tricks on ways to make dog ownership more affordable. And so I'm here to share those with you today. So for this part, I'm going to be sharing 5 ways that dog ownership can be more affordable, or you can save a little bit more money on owning a dog. So let's go ahead and get into it. I am going to be using notes because I just like, I'm one of those people where I have to write everything out, but I want to make sure I'm providing very clear, concise, and just very like thorough information to you on how you can save money and have your dog. So for the first way, keeping up with your dog's preventatives. This is something that is very important. Just like with a human, we have to go to the doctor, we have to go to the dentist, we have to go to all these different appointments as preventative measures so that they don't lead into disease or any other type of complications down the line, which will cost more money. So keeping up with your dog's preventatives is very important. So that means getting their annual vaccinations, getting an annual heartworm test, making sure that you give them a heartworm preventative every year or every month, depending on what type of heartworm preventative that you have. And this is to prevent them from developing, other illnesses or even having heartworms further down the line, which could get even more expensive. I actually experienced that when I was much younger and I had first gotten my dog. I was a little late giving her one of her heartworm meds. She was taking Heartgard, I think. And I took her in for a vet appointment, like a, general regular annual vet appointment. And I found out that she had heartworms. And I cried and cried and cried. I felt like I failed my dog. And I wasn't even that late giving her the meds. And so from that day on, I was like, okay, I want to make sure I give her her heartworm meds on time. But also a part of that process, I realized like how much more expensive it was for me to have to treat the heartworms versus prevent the heartworms. And so preventing the heartworms was literally some medication that I could give her once a month, $100 for the year, right? To treat the heartworms, it was much more expensive. I had to give her a different type of medication that was a little bit more expensive. She not only had to have that initial heartworm test, but she had to go back for a follow-up heartworm test and a vet visit. So it's like I added additional costs for treating versus preventing. And so I want to, prevent you from doing the same by encouraging you to really focus on keeping up with your dog's preventative vaccinations and maintenance. The first way was, making sure you stay on top of your dog's preventative care, right? But even sometimes that can get a little expensive. I've been to vets where they've costed a pretty penny to do a heartworm test, to give Bordetella, all those different things. So here's way number 2 of even keeping those costs down. Grab your phone or grab your computer, head to Google, and search for low-cost pet clinics in your area. I actually live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and last year I discovered, or maybe 2 years ago, I discovered low-cost pet vacs. And so if you're not familiar with them, they provide low-cost pet vaccinations. For the most part, they only host their clinics on the weekend, but you can literally go and get all of your dog's annual vaccinations right there at that visit. And let me tell you, it is super inexpensive. I always give my dog her vaccinations on an annual basis. So I get, the rabies, distemper parvo, bordetella. She gets a heartworm test. And let me tell you, y'all, it's only $79. That's it. I've contacted my vet before to get like a individual heartworm test, and they quoted me for $40 by itself. Nothing else, just the heartworm test for $40. And so let me tell you, I think I love going to low cost pet vets. Like I said, it's often on a Saturday or a Sunday. And they'll have locations throughout. But I encourage you, if you're not in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, to research options in your area. Even if you can find places or vets that are a little bit cheaper, in terms of annual vaccinations, be sure to check them out, because that's a great way to save some money on preventative measures that you have to get done every single year. Okay, so vet visits can get really, 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 really expensive. I have a dog with a history of severe allergies. She has went to the vet for severe skin infections in which she's, lost the majority of her fur. She's had to go to the vet for really bad ear infections where her ears were, swollen and, filled with, all the disgusting stuff, all those different things. She's had to get injections, steroids, antibiotics, special exams, skin scraping, all those different things because of her allergies. And let me tell you, it gets really old really fast, especially after you've seen a bill for like $500. It gets really old. And during my time of owning her, I discovered the importance of shopping around. And that's why this is my third way of being able to make dog ownership more affordable. Shop around. Shop around. It's so important. I encourage you, like if you know your dog needs a certain procedure or a certain vaccination or whatever it is, find some vets and contact them to try to get an understanding of like their starting price for that procedure or that vaccination. Sometimes vets have, well, for the most part, when you go to a vet, there's going to be a general exam. Those general exams can range from like simple or being more complex or more involved in all those different things. But even, in that case, it's still important to get an understanding of like what vets starting prices are. Because if you have a starting exam over here for $60 and a starting exam, a simple exam over here that starts at, $120, that's a big difference between the two. And so more than likely, other procedures are going to cost more as well. So I definitely encourage you to shop around. So grab your computer, grab your phone, head to Google and research and contact these vets and try to get an understanding of what their starting costs are for procedures or vaccinations or things like that. It's very important. I promise you would save a ton of money. Okay. And then for the fourth way, this relates to shopping around actually. Look for rural vets. And when I say rural, I mean a place that's probably a little bit more of a drive than what you would normally take, especially if you live in a city or metropolitan area. But definitely check out rural vets. When Kai was younger and I was living in Georgia, I wanted to get her teeth cleaned. And so I started to contact, vets all across the city of Athens and try to get an understanding of what they would charge for teeth cleaning. And y'all, when I say the money was money, I had quotes of $600, $700, or, we usually start around $600, but it really just depends on what we have to do. And I was a student. I was flabbergasted. I was like, I don't have $600 or $700 to spend to get my dog's teeth cleaned. And so I think I either talked to my brother or I went online and somebody mentioned like rural vets. And the minute I read that, I just started Googling like cities located around Athens. And I was just like, okay, let me look, at some cities that are a little bit further away, out in the middle of nowhere of the country. Let me contact them and see how much they cost for a teeth cleaning. And I kid you not, I found the best vet because everybody was nice and friendly. I found the best vet at a rural veterinary clinic that treated like large animals like horses and stuff like that, and then small animals. And they quoted me $300. $300. I was like, let's go ahead and book that appointment. Let's book it. Because that was half of what I would have been spending had I went to a vet that was located in the city or the metro. And so sometimes the thing about having a rural vet, especially if you live in like a, metropolitan or a city, is that sometimes you have to drive a little far to get to them. I think the one that I found was about 30 minutes away. So that means an hour of driving, to and from there. But the cost savings that I experienced was, well worth it. So I took that drive. I encourage you, if you have to do the drive, maybe just turn on your favorite music or turn on your favorite podcast or even listen to your favorite audiobook and just cruise, on to the vet that's in the country. It'll be okay. I promise you. You'll be more thankful that you saved that money than, spent an hour driving. And lastly, another way that you can save money or make dog ownership more affordable is to prevent emergencies. This is another area where I have a lot of experience. I do, because I was very young when I got my dog, and I was very, at the time, inexperienced when I got her. One of the biggest ways that I think you can prevent emergencies is really being mindful of, dangers, foods that are toxic, and all like preventing your dog from being around those things, or even having the opportunity to ingest or hurt themselves on certain things. Specifically, like if your dog, eats a pack of gum out of your purse, that's very preventable. If your dog swallows some, or chews up some avocados or raisins, that's very preventable. It's very important for you to educate yourself on the things that are toxic to dogs and make sure that they're either not in your home or that they're, well out of reach for your dog. Because here's the thing, puppies and dogs are very curious. They like to eat, they like to get into things. And sometimes those things aren't good for them, but they have no way of knowing that. It's your job as their owner to prevent them from getting to those things. And then as a result, that prevents you from having to rush them to the emergency vet to save their lives. Emergency vet visits are excessively expensive. I'll tell you, when I was in Georgia, there was a vet visit. I think the general exam was $200 or $300. Yeah, it was a late night vet clinic, and their starting fee was like $200, $300. That's not, including if there's treatment or if there's certain medicine. That's just to be seen. So I do encourage you to really educate yourself on what's toxic for dogs, or things that, looking at your house and looking at ways that they could hurt themselves, and, keep them from around those things or keep those things out of your house. In addition, I do encourage you to practice like crating. I know sometimes people think it's a crate right here, that crating, like putting your dog in a crate, is cruel. But sometimes a crate stands between your dog and getting sick or getting hurt. It honestly does. Because this crate, I consider a lifesaver. If you have a puppy, especially, if you're not able to watch that puppy 24/7, I encourage the crate, because the crate is an environment in which you can, you have a lot more control over. You don't have to worry about your dog eating up your favorite dog chocolate or eating the raisins that, fell on the floor or whatever. They're in this crate. They have, their food, their water, their treats, their toys, all those different things. Create a home for them, make it comfortable, make yourself feel better for having to crate them. But do know that it's okay to crate, and it's okay to crate, especially because sometimes the crate is what can save you from having to, rescue your dog or bring your dog to the emergency room. So I do encourage a crate. If you don't want to crate them, just be sure to keep a really good eye out on your dog. Please. Thank you. So yeah, those are 5 ways that could really make dog ownership more affordable. I do encourage you to, follow through with some of these, because it will save you a lot of money. I've, dealt with a lot during my 8 or 9 years of owning my dog. And I feel like, I have a lot to share. And so that's why I created this video, just so I can provide you some tips and tricks to really make dog ownership more affordable and easier for you. So that's all for me. Stay tuned for part 2. I will be making another video about other ways to keep dog ownership affordable. So I look forward to making the video and seeing you on the other video. Thank you and have a good day.